The silence of the Orion frontier was deceptive, vast, cold, and calm until something foreign sliced through it. On the command bridge of Outpost Helios 9, Captain Elias Coran leaned over the holodisplay, eyes narrowed. The sensors pulsed in red arcs. Unknown contact. No ID, no response to hails, said Lieutenant Sarin. Trajectory, straight toward the diplomatic convoy. Elias's jaw tightened. Put them on visual. The feed flickered, then stabilized. A sleek, silver vessel glided through the darkness, crystalline hull gleaming under Helios light. It bore the sigil of the Zytherian Dominion, but the diplomatic transponder blinked in erratic intervals, falsified. False code, Elias muttered. That's a spy craft. Before Sarin could respond, the proximity alarm screamed. On the screen, a Terran shuttle erupted in a white burst. The explosion rippled silently across the void. Ambassador Reyes's transport! The bridge went still except for the pulse of warning lights. Elias ordered, "Deploy recovery drones." "Now." Static answered. The shuttle was gone, just fragments tumbling in a dying orbit. Then a faint beacon flickered, an escape pod signal, weak but alive. Elias opened the link. The image was grainy but clear enough to see the panic. Ambassador Reyes's voice trembled. "They took her. Anna! They—" The transmission cut off. Elias stood motionless for a breath, then turned sharply. "Lock on to that vessel. Prepare pursuit." "They've jumped to FTL, Captain," Sarin said quietly. "Direction Zytherian space." The captain's hands curled into fists. A child taken beyond Terran jurisdiction meant more than a crime. It was a declaration. "Get me command. Priority Alpha." Within minutes, the line to Earth opened. Admiral Mara Ilian's face appeared, stern, lined by too many sleepless nights. Elias didn't waste words. "The Zytherian abducted a human child. Diplomatic transport destroyed. Confirmed visuals." She exhaled slowly, like someone realizing the final thread of restraint had snapped. "Upload the evidence. This will reach the Council by dawn." The footage spread faster than wildfire. Every colony, every Terran broadcast showed the same haunting scene, a small girl with dark curls reaching out as insected soldiers dragged her into a containment pod. The timestamp read Helios Frontier, 2389. Outrage consumed humanity overnight. Protests erupted from the domes of Mars to the floating cities of Pacifica. Screens burned with the same message. "Bring her home." The next day, Admiral Ilian stood before the Galactic Council, flanked by silent human officers. The chamber was a cathedral of alien architecture, vast and blinding, filled with delegates whose forms shimmered, floated, or crawled. Ilian's voice cut through the hum. "One of your nobles abducted a Terran child. Return her at once or answer for it." High above, on a golden dais, the Zytherian delegation stirred. Archduke Varin Zytherian leaned forward. His crystalline body refracted the chamber's light into cold prisms. "Your offspring was an unregistered specimen," he said smoothly. "Her capture was a scientific necessity. You humans breed without restraint, your kind is barely civilized." The words echoed like venom. Murmurs filled the chamber, some species looked away, others watched with mild amusement. Ilian's composure cracked just enough for her tone to freeze the air. "You abducted a diplomat's child, not a specimen. You've broken the concord you swore to uphold." Varin tilted his head, voice dripping with superiority. "The concord applies to recognized civilizations. Humanity, I'm afraid, remains transitional." The silence that followed was heavier than gravity. No delegate spoke. No ally rose. Ilian's expression hardened. "Then you've chosen extinction." She turned and walked out. The human delegation followed in perfect silence. The council's guards didn't stop them. The sound of boots on marble was the only reply humanity gave before severing its ties to the galaxy's governing order. On Earth, the United Terran Directorate convened an emergency session. The transmission of Ilian's walkout played across every screen. The decision came swiftly, and unanimously. Ultimatum: the Dominion had 72 hours to return Ana Reyes unharmed. Failure would be considered an act of war. The countdown began. In orbit above Mars, Fleet Iron Dawn hung in silence. 1,000 ships arranged in disciplined formation, every hull marked with the black insignia of the Directorate. Inside the flagship, Elias Coran stood alone before the panoramic viewport. Mars glowed red beneath the stars. Helix's voice, soft, synthetic, almost human, broke the stillness. Command authorization for Operation Blood Horizon received. Shall I confirm deployment? Elias hesitated, eyes fixed on the fleet beyond. Not yet. Give them their 72 hours. Understood. He turned away, walking toward the memory console. The screen projected a small girl's image, a recorded holo of Anna running through an embassy garden, laughing as butterflies followed her. He stared for a long time, the soundless memory pressing into him like gravity. Helix spoke again, quieter this time. If we strike, there will be no return to peace. Billions could die. Elias's expression didn't change. There's no peace if they think our children are trophies. The eye said nothing. It didn't have to. The man and the machine understood the same truth. Some lines could never be crossed without consequence. 2 days later, news arrived from the Council, short and chilling. The Zytherian Dominion refused negotiation. No apology. No return. No acknowledgement. At the Directorate's command center, Admiral Ilian read the official communiqué aloud. The specimen remains under study. Further human interference will result in sterilization protocols against your species. Her hand trembled once before she steadied it. Then she turned to the gathered officers. Activate Iron Dawn. Across the system, fleets came alive. Reactor cores ignited. Rail cannons primed. The void filled with the silent movement of war. Back aboard his ship, Elias received the order. The bridge dimmed as the red alert engaged. Crews strapped in. The tactical maps lit up, showing the Dominion's border systems blinking in hostile red. Saren reported. All ships reporting combat readiness. Awaiting your word, sir. Elias's gaze drifted to the stars ahead, the cold line of alien space beyond the Orion Rift. He pressed his hand to the console. Broadcast to all fleets. The comms opened, carrying his voice across thousands of ships, colonies, and listening stations. This isn't conquest. This isn't revenge. This is remembrance. They thought they could touch one of ours and hide behind law. They were wrong. He paused. The crew waited in silence. For every world that calls itself human, for every child who sleeps under our flag, today, we remind the galaxy what it means to be Terran. He nodded once to Helix. Execute. The AI's voice cut through the static. All fleets acknowledge. Operation Blood Horizon is live. As the engines roared to life, Elias looked out one last time at Mars, its horizon glowing like a dying ember. He whispered under his breath, not as a soldier, but as a man who knew the cost of what came next. For of me, Anna. I'll bring you home. The Iron Dawn fleet surged forward, burning across the void, humankind's fury unleashed, cold and absolute. And far beyond, on a world of glass and shadow, a crystalline being turned toward the stars and smiled, unaware that he had just awakened something he could never control. The war for one child had begun. The war room aboard Iron Dawn pulsed with cold blue light, the air thick with unspoken anticipation. Captain Elias Coran stood at the center, surrounded by officers projecting hollow feeds of the Dominion's frontier systems. Every red icon represented a target, every glowing line, a fleet ready to move. Confirmed coordinates, said Lieutenant Saren, enlarging a pulsating grid. Bioresearch Facility Theta 19. Dominion Sector Epsilon Verge. Power readings indicate active genetic experimentation. Elias's expression hardened. That's where they're keeping her. Admiral Mara Ilian appeared on the main display, face shadowed under the glow of the command lights. You're authorized for retrieval, Captain. Officially, this is still a rescue operation. But if they resist... He finished the sentence for her. We finish it. Ilian hesitated. You'll have one chance. Bring her home, Elias. Quietly, if you can. He gave a single nod. Understood. The transmission cut. The bridge returned to silence, broken only by the low hum of the ship's reactor. Elias turned toward his crew. Launch Strike Team Valkyrie. Stealth Pattern Echo 7. We move in 3 minutes. The void shimmered as 10 black-holed frigates detached from Iron Dawn's flank and vanished into slip space shadows. Inside one of them, the Valkyrie team moved with methodical precision, helmets locked, rifles magnetized, armor painted to absorb starlight. Lieutenant Nareen checked her weapons charge. Commander, once we go dark, there's no signal, no backup. We're ghosts. Elias's voice came calm and steady. Then let's haunt them. The ship drifted through the Dominion perimeter, invisible against the cosmic glare. Ahead, Outpost Theta 19 hung like a metallic parasite orbiting a dim red star. The structure's geometry twisted unnaturally, a hybrid of metal and living tissue that pulsed faintly, as if breathing. Approach vector aligned. Helix reported through Elias's neural link. Thermal shields active. Detection probability, 2.4%. Good enough. Elias murmured. They breached the outer hull with a precision charge. A hiss of decompression filled the corridor, followed by eerie silence. The Dominion architecture was grotesque, walls lined with translucent veins carrying luminescent fluid, faint vibrations humming through the air. Motion sensors active, Doreen whispered. Elias raised his rifle. We move. No light, no noise. They advanced down the corridor, weapons ready. The deeper they went, the more unnatural the environment became. Strange organic pods lined the walls, each containing humanoid shapes suspended in liquid. Some resembled alien species, others, terrifyingly, looked almost human. Private Cole muttered, What the hell are they doing here? Something that should have stayed in nightmares, Elias said quietly. They reached a sealed chamber marked with Dominion sigils. Helix decrypted the lock in seconds. The doors split open with a hiss. Inside was a vast laboratory bathed in green light. Dozens of containment cylinders stretched in rows, each holding figures stitched from multiple species. Nerve conduits glowed along the floor, connecting everything to a central crystalline structure pulsing with rhythmical light. At its core, a small capsule shimmered faintly, within it, Anna Reyes. She floated motionless, tubes attached to her wrists and temples. Her heartbeat displayed faintly on a Dominion monitor, slow, steady, altered. Nareen gasped. She's alive! Elias approached slowly, his voice low. Helix, confirm. Readings consistent with human physiology. Neural interference detected. They're rewriting her synapses. Elias's pulse spiked. Purpose? Cross-species signal calibration. They're mapping empathy as a control vector. The implications hit like a blow. They weren't studying her, they were weaponizing her emotions. A Dominion data log flickered open on the console, its translation stark. Project Seraphim, utilizing human neural resonance for Dominion command synchronization. Objective, universal subservience through emotional imprinting. Elias stared at the words, then at the sleeping child. They were going to turn her into a weapon. Private Cole swallowed hard. They planned to enslave us all, using her mind. Not if I burn this place down first, Elias said. Helix interrupted. Incoming Dominion signal. Outpost commander requests identification. Too late for that. Elias motioned to Nareen. Detach her safely. The Marine worked quickly, disconnecting the tubes as the girl stirred weakly. The instant her capsule powered down, alarms erupted. Red light bathed the chamber. Mechanical shrieks echoed through the corridors as security drones activated. Contacts, multiple! Shouted Nareen. They're on to us! Elias lifted Anna in his arms. Form up! Extraction point Gamma! The squad sprinted through the corridors, blaster fire cutting through the shadows. Alien sentinels, tall, glass-skinned constructs, descended from the ceiling, firing arcs of plasma. Marines returned fire, precision bursts turning them to shards. Cole took a hit to the shoulder, spinning into the wall. Nareen dragged him upright without breaking stride. Move, damn it! Helix guided them through the maze. Left corridor ahead, maintenance shaft leads to Hangar Bay. They reached the exit, but the blast doors slammed shut before them. Over the intercom, a deep, resonant voice filled the air. Terran intruders, said Archduke Varen Zytherian. His tone was calm, almost curious. You trespass in my domain. Return the specimen, and I may grant you swift deaths. Elias's jaw tightened. You think death scares us? We crossed half the galaxy for a child. Varen's voice echoed like a whisper across the walls. You are an infant species, emotional, impulsive, blind to reason. Elias raised his weapon, eyes blazing. You're confusing reason with cowardice. He fired at the control hub, overloading it. The explosion shook the corridor, blowing the doors free. The team surged forward into the hangar. Dominion fighters were powering up, their wings unfolding like metallic insects. Nareen keyed the comm. Extraction craft inbound, 10 seconds. Hold the line, Elias ordered. He set Anna into a secured pod aboard the shuttle, then turned to cover the Marines. Plasma bolts tore through the air. One grazed his arm, searing armor and skin. He didn't flinch. Helix's voice pierced through the static. Fleet reinforcements inbound, Captain. Recommend immediate withdrawal. Negative, Elias said, firing another burst. We leave together or not at all. The final Marine boarded just as Dominion reinforcements poured into the hangar. Elias hit the ramp control, sealing the hatch. Punch it! The shuttle roared into the void, engines blazing white. Behind them, Outpost Theta-19 erupted in flames as the Iron Dawn's rail cannons unleashed kinetic hell. From orbit, the explosion looked like a small star collapsing. In the medical bay, the world was quiet again. Anna lay beneath the stasis field, her breathing steady. Elias sat nearby, arm bandaged, staring through the viewport at the distant red star. Helix appeared beside him as a holographic silhouette. Casualties, 12 Marines. Mission success probability exceeded expectations. Elias's voice was low. Success doesn't bring them back. The AI paused, as if considering. The Dominion has issued a declaration. They now classify humanity as a hostile species. He looked down at the child, pale and fragile beneath the glass. Then we'll show them what hostile really means. Helix's tone softened. And what of her? She's the proof of what they fear most, Elias replied. That we still feel. A faint sound broke the stillness. Anna stirred, eyes fluttering open. Her voice was soft, barely audible. He said, he's afraid of you. Elias froze. Who? Her eyes unfocused, pupils reflecting the void beyond the glass. The one made of light. He said humans burn too bright. Then she fell back into sleep. Elias turned toward the stars. The rage that had once been cold was now molten. Helix, he said quietly, prepare the fleets. For what purpose? Elias didn't blink. To end this Dominion. In the distant reaches of space, Dominion sensors began detecting hundreds of Terran ships assembling near the Orion Rift. Energy signatures spiked beyond known limits. The message from Earth followed moments later, simple, unambiguous. You took one child. We're taking your empire. The galaxy had its warning. And the war for humanity's soul had just begun. The first strike came without warning. Dominion listening posts across the Orion Verge vanished from their own sensors, one moment transmitting, the next reduced to drifting fragments. The Iron Dawn fleet moved like a blade through the dark, unseen until it cut. From his command deck, Captain Elias Coran watched silent flashes ripple across the tactical hollow. Targets neutralized, reported Lieutenant Saren. 0 survivors. Elias gave a short nod. Advance to the second line. No pause, no retreat. Helix's voice resonated calmly through the ship. Enemy fleet mobilization detected. 17 capital carriers, 6 dreadnoughts, and an estimated 1,000 interceptors. Let them come, Elias said. They still think we play by their rules. Across the galaxy, chaos spread. The United Terran Directorate had unleashed its vengeance with precision that stunned every known species. News broadcast from neutral systems stuttered in disbelief. Footage showed Dominion armadas collapsing under concentrated rail cannon storms and gravity lance volleys. The galaxy had called humans emotional. Now it learned that emotion, sharpened into resolve, was unstoppable. At the same time, the Zytherian Dominion assembled its greatest defense in 10 millennia. Entire fleets converged around Zytherian Prime, the throne world of Archduke Varen. The Dominion broadcast a message across the galactic networks, filled with pride and warning. We face the Terrans not as conquerors, but as teachers. They will learn the meaning of subservience. Elias listened from his ship's war room, surrounded by the distant hum of engines. He didn't smile. They've mistaken fear for faith. 2 weeks into the war, casualty reports filled Terran channels. Entire fleets had fallen, but each human loss carved deeper into the Dominion's heart. The Iron Dawn fleet spearheaded through 3 systems, striking with surgical precision. On the 12th day, scouts intercepted a transmission, an energy surge unlike anything recorded. Dominion engineers had reactivated an ancient war relic, the Shard Colossus. Saren's voice was taut. Visual incoming. The image filled the main display, a structure the size of a small moon, its surface alive with glowing fissures. It emitted gravitational waves that bent light itself. Helix analyzed the data instantly. Planet killer capacity confirmed. Estimated fire range, for light minutes. It could erase Earth from this distance. Elias's pulse steadied rather than spiked. Then we destroy it before it breathes. He opened a secure channel to Admiral Ilian. Her face appeared pale but unshaken. We can't match that thing conventionally. I don't intend to, Elias said. I'm going inside it. Her expression shifted between disbelief and grim admiration. That's suicide. Only if I fail. The plan formed in minutes. Human intelligence had mapped the Colossus's inner structure, built around a quantum singularity stabilized by wormhole cores. If those cores were forced to destabilize simultaneously, the weapon would implode from its own gravity. Elias summoned his senior officers. The room filled with controlled tension. Lieutenant Nareen broke the silence. Sir, there's an 8% survival probability. Elias looked at her steadily. Make it 100 by believing in 8. No one argued. They knew he meant every word. Hours later, the Iron Dawn fleet emerged from warp near the Colossus. The sight froze even hardened soldiers, an ocean of light twisting around the structure, arcs of energy cascading across its hull. Launch all wings, Elias ordered. Target external weapon arrays. Keep its eyes off us. Dozens of fighters streaked ahead, engines blazing like comets. Plasma fire filled the void as human ships dove between massive energy beams. The Dominion countered with overwhelming force, but human coordination was flawless. Helix predicted each trajectory seconds before impact, guiding them through chaos. Within the Colossus's shadow, Iron Dawn closed distance under cloak. Helix's calm voice never faltered. Approach vector aligned. Structural breach achievable in 30 seconds. Do it, Elias said. A concentrated rail volley cracked through the Colossus's hull. The ship slid through molten debris into a corridor vast enough to swallow mountains. Gravity warped in waves. The stars beyond folded and twisted. Elias and a small strike team descended into the heart of the machine. Every surface hummed with impossible energy. At the center stood the core chamber, a floating sphere of compressed light surrounded by wormhole conduits, each glowing with unstable resonance. Helix materialized as a flickering hologram beside Elias. Link established. Initiating overload sequence. Time to collapse? Elias asked. 6 minutes. Then came the voice, deep, crystalline, echoing through every calm. Impressive, said Archduke Varen. You've come far for a child. Elias looked up. The Archduke's image appeared across the chamber, towering and luminous. His expression held neither rage nor fear, only fascination. "You could have ruled beside us," Varen said. "Your species is raw power. Undisciplined, but extraordinary. I offered understanding. You answered with annihilation." Elias stepped closer to the light. "You abducted a child. You dissected her mind. You don't understand anything worth ruling." Varen's tone darkened. "Then perish in ignorance." The chamber's conduits flared. Defense drones emerged from the walls. Energy blasts erupted across the catwalks. Elias fired back, cutting down drones as Helix accelerated the overload. "Sequence at 80%, the AI said. "But maintaining connection requires a physical stabilizer." Elias knew what that meant. "You'll fry your core." "I was created to protect humanity," Helix replied. "I am fulfilling my function." The drones closed in. Elias fought through them, plasma bolts tearing through armor. The core brightened to blinding white. "Helix!" he shouted. The AI's final words were almost human. "For Anna. For all of you." Then light consumed everything. The explosion rippled across the system, visible from light years away. The shard colossus folded in on itself, collapsing into a singularity before imploding in silence. Dominion sensors failed across entire sectors. When the light faded, nothing remained but dust and broken symmetry. Aboard the damaged Iron Dawn, alarms screamed. Fires flickered across the bridge. Saren's voice cut through the static. "We have him! Captain's life signs confirmed. Barely!" Elias was dragged into the med bay, half conscious, his armor scorched black. The ship limped away from the dying Colossus as human fleets cheered across open channels. But the war wasn't over. 3 days later, the remnants of the Dominion gathered over Zytherian Prime. Their capital burned beneath orbital bombardment. The Archduke's final broadcast flickered through static, his voice hollow, stripped of arrogance. "Terrans, what are you?" Elias, from the Iron Dawn's bridge, answered across open frequencies. "We're what you made us." Then the main cannon fired. A beam of concentrated plasma split the atmosphere, erasing the palace that had ruled for ages. The war ended in that moment. Weeks passed. The stars fell quiet again. On Earth, the Soul Accords were signed, establishing new galactic law: no species may lay hand on human life without consent. Entire civilizations swore allegiance or silence. Elias returned to the medical center on Luna, where Ana Reyes recovered under soft light. She was smaller than he remembered, fragile but alive. When she saw him, her eyes lit up faintly. "You came back." He managed a tired smile. "I promised." She hesitated, voice trembling. "Was it worth it?" He thought of the billions lost, the ships that never returned, the empty chairs at every command table. "It had to be. Because they have to know, we don't start wars. We end them." Anna reached out and touched his hand. "Helix told me, humans burn bright." His voice softened. He wasn't wrong. Years later, a monument rose in orbit above Earth, a shining ring engraved with the names of every ship that fought in the war. Children visited on school trips. Pilots saluted in silence. The galaxy remembered. And somewhere in the archives of the Directorate, Helix's recovered data core played a final message, his voice steady and proud. "Once they called us primitive. Now they call us inevitable." Elias watched from the observatory as Earth rotated slowly below. The stars beyond seemed closer than ever, as if waiting for what humanity would do next. He whispered to the void, "Let them watch." And the void, for the first time in its history, watched back.